I hope you're ready for this. This is all about by age 65. And 65 represents the age of retirement. But a lot of people aren't able to retire by their age, and we'll dive deeper into that. But understand the power and the magic in the number 65. We're going to give you two viewpoints that connect directly to the number in the age 65, and we're going to tie them in together so that you understand and it paints a picture so you'll see where you are and ultimately where you want to be and what you need to do in order to get to that destination.
Yes, we say 65 is retirement age, you guys,
Right.
but you never know when or if that will change, because of course there has been rumors for a very long time that age is going up to 72 and
Right.
75, which is absolutely insane. So you should always be thinking about retirement. It's funny because with us being young, right? Sometimes people look at us and say, well, what are y'all doing thinking about retirement? Well, the truth of the matter is you should be thinking about retirement when you're young. All right, as young as possible. And you want to teach it to your kids, and you want to be in a place where when you do stop working, whenever you decide to work, because retirement is not about age,
Yes.
it is about money.
Absolutely.
Okay, whenever you decide to stop working, you don't have to go back. All right, you're not that dependent on a job and on somebody else feeding you that you're cool. All right, you could just chill financially. You're good. You can do what it is that you want to do. You can live life until you pass.
I love the fact that you put on the, put it out there what retirement really is and how it's not based on the age, it's based on money. See, a lot of people don't understand that. They automatically associate retirement with age, and you lose a lot of your life when you do that. If you're strictly waiting to relax or kick your feet up or travel based on the age, then you miss out on the opportunities to hit that point way before that age come. You see, if we lived our lives based on retirement age, we both would have to work literally over 30 plus more years right now in order to reach the age of 65. So you got to understand that it's not based on age, it's based on positioning, based on money, based on assets, based on the place that you put yourself in. So you got to come here with an open mind. Invite somebody right now who you know who needs to have an open mind about money, or who already has an open mind about money, so they can really dive in and understand the concept behind retirement not being based on age. Even though we're speaking about the age 65, we want you to know that this can be done by 35, 45, literally, if you understand what it is we're referring to. You want to dive in to them real quick, or you know what you got for them?
All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So we'll just go through some stats, and I'll read these stats for you guys. In the wealthiest country, right, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, by age 65, out of 100 people, 38 of them are dead. Okay, that's 36%. 54 of them are dead broke. That's 54%. That's more than half. So now we're splitting up the other half. Okay, 5 of 100 people are still working. Okay, so that's 5%. 4 are financially stable. And then you got 1 that's truly wealthy.
Now let's break that down, because we just brushed through it in a way that, you may not adapt or connect to it directly. So we're living in the wealthiest country in the world, America. It's not even close. I know a lot of times people associate it with the debt, but we live in a world, a country that's built on capitalism, which is based on buying and spending. So that is what puts us on the forefront in being the wealthiest country in the world. There are a ton of billionaires, a ton of millionaires, and people who are becoming millionaires every day like clockwork. So we live in the wealthiest country in the world, but the question is, why is it that out of 100 Americans, the statistics line up the way they do? Out of 100 Americans, only 1 is financially free when it's all said and done. So what was the first stat? Because I want to brush on that.
The first stat is, out of 100 people, 38 are dead. So that's 36%.
And we like to say dead or dead broke. So 36% are dead or dead broke. That's 1 out of every 3 people. But we live in the wealthiest country in the world. So you got to understand, by age 65, 1 out of 3 people may either be dead or dead broke. Now, we're not wishing anything on anyone, but you just got to understand that it's easy to fall into that 1 out of 3 if you're not actively doing something to alter that statistic so that that statistic does not apply to you. What was the next one?
Well, actually, 38 was dead.
Okay.
And then 54 are dead broke.
Gotcha.
So that's 54%.
Got you. So that's an even bigger percentage. So 36 there, we're not going to speak on that because, you know, life can end at any moment. 65 doesn't determine how long a person's lifespan is. So we won't speak on that. But 54 out of 100, which is more than 50%. So I said 1 out of 3, but let's rewind that, because if you're taking notes and following along, you need to understand that 1 out of 2 people, really more than 1 out of 2 people, if you can make a person more than just who they are. But 1 out of 2 people, which is more than 50% of the people, are dead broke in this financial race that we're running in. You got to look at it like that. So the question is, what can you do to make sure you're not that one of the 2? Because it's usually based on the mindset and the activity that they perform throughout their life. So you got to understand that first and foremost. What can you do? That should be the question you're asking yourself. What can I do to make sure I'm not dead broke by the age of 65?
Right. And here's the thing that you have to understand, you guys, when we say dead broke, it's a lot of facets in that one thing. That could be you depending upon a family member. You know, we talk to a lot of people, and I remember very vividly a couple of people telling me that they had to move their parents in because they retired, and guess what? They didn't have enough money. They were on a fixed income. So now here we are, you know, up until they got into their adulthood, their parents were taking care of them. But now that the parents are retired, they have to take care of their parents, not because they're sick, not because, you know, they're ill or they're injured, but because they don't have any money. Right. Because they are dead broke. So that's one of the facets that we're talking about in those 54 people. You know, a lot of us think that, let me not say us, okay, because I'm not in this category.
Right, words of power.
A lot of people think that Social Security is going to save them. And 3 words for you, and I say this all the time: pull the numbers. Pull the numbers. Do your research on Social Security, and you'll see over and over and over again. If you're making $30,000 a year and you're barely making it, guess what? Social Security is going to be less than that. If you're making $40,000, $50,000 a year and you're barely making ends meet, you're living paycheck to paycheck, Social Security is less than that. So you guys, you know, not trying to say anyone is slow here, but let's just use common sense. If we are barely making ends meet, or we don't have anything left over after we take care of all of our monthly expenses and other little occurrences here and there, what in the world makes us think that we could live off of less? Think about that. Your bills aren't going to stop. They're going to keep coming in. So you have to use a little bit of common sense and just know that something else has to be in place in order for you to not fall into that dead broke percentage.
Absolutely. And not only will your bills continue, things will go up. The cost of goods and services increase every single year to the tune of 2% or more every single year. That's called inflation. So yes, if you're going to get paid less than what's not getting the job done now, imagine the strain you will have having to pay for things that are higher, doctor bills that are higher, if that's your scenario, or expenses in general that are higher due to the fact that inflation is kicking up. See, a lot of times people mix up Social Security and they feel as though that's something that was meant to be lived off of to begin with. It was really just to be a supplement to your income. You should have already had some things in place that would have taken care of you, and Social Security was just going to support you. So don't get mad at Social Security. Don't get mad at the government. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's serving as a supplement to your income. So by knowing that, then you take some initiative, you take some authority, some responsibility, and you own it. The fact that you have to contribute to your own retirement. You have to play a part in your own survival. So you got to understand, a lot of
Yes.
times as it relates to saving or being saved, like I like to compare or use the scenario of somebody drowning. Sometimes people don't participate in their own rescue as it relates to drowning. We could throw you a raft, we could send you a boat, we can even send a helicopter to airlift you, but if you're not willing to participate in your own rescue, then in a way you kind of deserve to deal with whatever consequences come along with it. So if Social Security is doing this part and giving you a raft, giving you a boat, you at least need to stretch your arm out and put in some work to pull in some resources that help complement what it is they're providing. So keep that in mind, because being dead broke is depending on family, depending on Social Security, or it can be even worse than that if you just, strung out and don't have anything at all. So understand, 1 out of 2 people that happens to by the age 65, which brings us directly into the next one, unless you got a piece you want to add to that one.
I can go on and on about Social Security. I mean, I really can go on and on about Social Security, because you hear it so much. You hear, I'm on a fixed income. Well, let me offer you a solution. Let me show you how you can bring more income into your household. And then sometimes you even hear, I don't want to mess up my Social Security. But Social Security is not enough. I'm confused. So, we can go on and on about that when it was not put into place for you to be dependent on. All right. You have to have some other things working for you. So I'll just leave it there. The next stat is 5 people of the 100 by age 65 are still working. Some people don't want to hang up that, they know that if I leave this job, Social Security ain't enough, my pension ain't enough, I'm going to have to do something else. So let me just stay here another 5 years, another 10 years. We all have had that one person that we've worked with that can tell you, oh, baby, I've been here 40 years. You're like, 40 years? Goodness. We all, I'm sure everybody working, it's that one old lady or that one old man at your job that's been there for an extremely long amount of time, still working. Why? Do you ever bother to ask them why they're still working? Not in an offensive way, not in a way that's going to rub them wrong, but just, Mrs. Johnson, why are you still here? It's been 45 years. Have you ever just thought to ask them? I like speaking to people that's much older, because that wisdom, they can give you that wisdom, they can give you that advice, and they may even blatantly tell you, baby, I ain't got no money. Okay, so 5 people still working, that's 5%. Go ahead.
Now think about it. A lot of times this number really represents the person who is not working just because there's something that they love to do.
Yes.
You see, sometimes people do love what they do so much that they continue to do it, but it's usually associated with a passion. It's usually associated with a business endeavor that they pursue, not necessarily a job that they continue to work at, or a retirement job, meaning that they work somewhere else for 20, 30, 40 years, and when they retired, they realized that the money wasn't enough to get their needs met to the level that they wanted them met, so they decided to get another job that they felt that they can at least do at the age of 65. So 9 times out of 10, it's not because that's something that they absolutely love to do. It's usually, in this scenario, always money related.
Yep.
So that means that they didn't do the proper planning on the front end in order to position themselves to not fall into that 5% of people who have to rely on a retirement job. And that's just speaking of the ones who are physically capable to perform a job after the age of 65, because some people aren't doing the proper health things in order to position themselves to even be capable of working beyond that age. So imagine, if you're not even capable to be hired, because some jobs won't even hire you due to your limited capabilities. Yep. Imagine that. But we're just speaking about the ones who are capable, and now they're working beyond 65 to the age of 70 and above, and they're literally working until they die, because they need the money, because we need income for life. That's what a lot of people miss. A lot of people don't understand that as it relates to income, you can't look in the future and think of a time frame that you will not need income at all.
Exactly.
So that's important for you to understand, because once you realize, okay, I'm going to need income for life. You know, if Social Security provides a certain amount, then I need to be bringing in an additional amount in order to make sure that that income for life is more than enough. Not just barely getting by or not enough at all. So you understanding that, then you perform or you live life differently because you need income for life. And life is getting longer and longer. People are literally living comfortably and healthy beyond the age of 80. You know, you have to understand that. How long will you live? Like, literally, we brought up a scenario, and I was just talking about my grandfather. He worked at a job, and he ended up retiring, and he drew out a retirement, and he definitely got his money worth, which is rare, but he lived to like 93. So he was retired for longer than the amount of years that he worked. So people are living longer. But if you don't have something in place that provides income for life, then you find yourself stressing over money and you end up, you know, dying prematurely due to the stresses that was caused by the money.
Yeah, and I mean, just simply put, I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to be old and working. You know, it's crazy that the view of retirement has changed, because back then it did used to be people would look at their retirement years as the time for them to kick it, vacation, live life. You know, I used to hear my parents say stuff about, you know, we gonna sell the house and get an RV or something like that. You know, I would hear people say stuff like that. So they were really looking forward to retirement, but not really considering the money situation, and that it's going to take money to do certain things that you're looking forward to. But back then, people did used to plan. Jobs were a little bit more secure. They were offering the pensions, and they were good pension plans and stuff like that as well. But things are really changing now. It's almost like YOLO. You know, you only live once. People aren't really caring to prepare for their future, not knowing pensions are not the same. You know, things are not the same. Inflation is real. So you know, just the view of retirement is so different now, and you definitely have to prepare yourself for it. Now, the next one is you have 4 of the 100 people that are financially stable. 4 out of 100 people by the age of 65 are financially stable, can pay their own bills, don't have to move in with kids, not dependent upon Social Security, not dependent upon, you know, anybody else, just doing their thing.
4 out of 100.
That's
Think about
crazy.
that number. 4 out of 100 people. That's like a minority within itself. So it's very few people who are in a position to take care of themselves with no outside assistance by the age of 65. That's a problem. But it has to be addressed. Those are the people who are typically preparing during their working years, preparing while they're younger, doing things, putting things in place to allow themselves not to be dependent, allow themselves to be independent as it relates to money. So those are the people who understood, whether they, you know, had a chip on their shoulder or somebody put them up on game, as I like to say, or, you know, whatever it was, they positioned themselves properly in order to make that happen. 4 out of 100. So the question is, what can we do and what can you do to make sure you're a part of that 4? Nothing against the other 96. We just want to make sure you are a part of that 4. So if somebody fell into that category, then so can you. And a lot of times it's based on planning. A lot of times it's based on work ethic. A lot of times it's based on just really pursuing certain things and coming from a place of ownership and responsibility and knowing that if it's meant to be, then you definitely have to take full responsibility of it, because it's up to you to make that happen. So 4 out of 100 is a lower number than I like. Hopefully that number climbs up, but it won't climb up if we don't have this conversation, if we don't have this dialogue. So you got to ask yourself, am I on track for being a part of that 4?
Right.
Now, still one left. We gave you numbers and it totals up to 99. We gave you 36, 54, and then...
No, 38, 54, 5, 4, and now 1.
Love it.
You have 1 out of 100 people who are truly wealthy.
How many?
1 out of 100. 1 out of 100 people that are truly wealthy.
1 out of 100 people wealthy wealthy. Now, when we say truly wealthy, because I know we said that for financially stable, not having to depend on anybody, they're pretty much in a position to fend for themselves for the rest of their life. They have something in place that provides them income for life. So that sounds like wealth in most people's eyes, which it is in a sense. But when we say wealthy, these are the people who thought about generations ahead of them. They thought about the future generations. I see a meme that floats around that says the wealthy people don't think about the weekend. They're planning for their future generations or 3 generations ahead, something like that. Don't quote me verbatim, but this is what you got to understand. They're thinking about their future generations. Will I leave my legacy? Will I leave my last name in a better position than when I found it, than when I was birthed, than when I was here? And they definitely will, because they're positioned to leave an inheritance for their kids. That's what they say we were supposed to do. And it doesn't happen without the proper planning and going above and beyond to make that happen. So salute to the 1%ers, but we definitely have to start working ourselves towards that minority as it relates to the percentage of people who are in good position by the age of 65. Notice, this is by the age of 65. Some people accomplish it well beyond the age of 65, but that's 1 out of 100 by that age.
Yeah, it's crazy. It seems like everyone would want to put in the work, within their first 10, 15, 20 working years, if you're dependent on a job. No one should solely depend on a job, but it seems like while you're working, regardless of what that work is, you would want to spend a small amount, 10, 15, 20 years working so that you can live the life that you ultimately desire, doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, with who you want to do it with. You should be able to sacrifice a little bit in the beginning. And it doesn't have to be all sacrifice, like literally you don't go anywhere for 15 years or you don't do anything or have any type of fun for 20 years. But what I'm saying is, as it pertains to being financially prepared, it seems like you should be okay with every single paycheck investing a little bit so that you can live off of the dividends later, or so that your children can live off the dividends later, or their children can live off of it later. It seems like you would be okay with taking a certain percentage off the top, putting it into savings, taking a certain percentage, putting it into assets, really building an empire for those 15, 20 years. It just seems like everybody should want to do that, opposed to falling in the other percentages of people where they're dead broke or depending on, family and friends. And it's so crazy because we were watching this show the other day. We're always into like dream homes and renovation type shows and vacation homes and just, documentaries and seeing people going from no money to, so much money that they can't, breathe. But, we're into that type of stuff. And there was this one family in particular that were building their dream home from ground up. Some kind of way, they ended up being $100,000 short. $100,000 short because of like the materials and some of the things that they really didn't calculate into the price. At that time, because this show was recorded like 12, 15 years ago, there was, and this was out of the country too, there was a recession going on, so the bank would not loan them the $100,000. Guess where they got the money? Their parents. $100,000 they got from their parents. And some people would would look at that, especially a lot of, I don't want to say our people, but there are people that would look at that situation and say, oh, they grew up with a silver spoon. But when you really think about what we're saying and leaving an inheritance for your children and your children's children, it's all right to be in a situation where if your kids need $100,000, they can call you. Instead of you responding, well, I don't have $100,000. I'm living check to check. My Social Security, I'm on a fixed income. It's something that was okay with hearing they went to their parents to get that $100,000. And so I think it's just really a different mentality when we throw out these numbers. it's bigger than you.
Absolutely.
It's not just about you. Think about the generations that's going to come behind you. You should be able to make some sacrifices on the front end so that they can actually benefit on the back end.
100%. And I definitely remember watching that episode. We even did something funny. Once we saw that the person was, giving $100,000, the money that they were lacking as it relates to finishing their dream home, and it came from their parents, she was like, let's role play a little bit. How would this conversation have gone had you gone to your parents or I gone to my parents? So we did like this funny role play, and needless to say, it was a conversation that, truth be told, we wouldn't even ask. We wouldn't even ask, but we role played just for the sake of having some fun, making it humorous. We laughed about it, and that was that. But they were in position as it relates to the parents. The parents were in position, and that doesn't happen without positioning yourself properly. Now, true enough, sometimes people, did inherit wealth, but for the most part, people who become wealthy, people who become millionaires or even billionaires, they're doing it in that generation that they existed. They're first generation millionaires and billionaires. So what that means and what that proves is that it can be done in a lifetime. It doesn't have to come from an inheritance if you tap into your capabilities, whether it's a God-given gift, whether it's listening to people like us who are serious about empowering you and getting you to make that simple mindset shift so you can shift your income in ways that you wouldn't even imagine. Regardless of what it is, it can be done in one generation, and it's never too late. People are creating wealth at all ages. There are people who have created wealth even after the age of 65, but that's a whole nother section, and we'll get to positioning and where you are. But the fact that they did have the money was pretty cool, so we saw that aspect of it, and it made us say, look, we want to be able to be in a position to where we can shell out this and it doesn't break the bank. It doesn't hurt at all because other things are already in place. That's wealth, and that's 1 out of 100 people that can make that happen. Yes,
you guys, we have some more information for you, so hold tight. Again, grab your pen and paper, share this video, and we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
All about you. Hold tight.
Welcome to the den. Welcome home. Hi everybody, this is Deborah. I'm excited to announce my latest business venture, The Den. It's a live internet broadcast and video production facility in Little Rock with 12 studios to broadcast live internet, television, radio, social media, vlogs, webinars, events, and much more. If you're an author, thought leader, expert, influencer, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, spiritual teacher, or religious leader, come see what we offer to help build your brand, message, product, business, or ministry. We're located at 322 South State Street in downtown Little Rock. Welcome to the Den. Welcome home. Welcome to the Den. Welcome home.
I ain't put it in royalty.
I did.
Okay, bet.
All right, back, you guys. Thank you for bearing with us. If you are still here, give us some thumbs, give us some hearts, have something floating across the screen, and we do greatly, greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments. Of those 5 different categories that I read off, and I'll recap those really fast. Yes. Where do you want to fall? Period. It starts in the mind. It starts with you speaking it. Where do you want to fall? 38, dead. Of course, you don't want to fall in that category.
Right.
We have 54 who are dead broke. I'm sure you don't aspire to be dead broke by the age of 65. 5 still working. You have 4 that are financially stable, and then 1 that's truly wealthy. So hopefully you want to be in a ladder 2. And that's where you aspire to be at 65. So just state what category you want to fall in, and then we're going to take it a step further. We're going to give you some age ranges, and we're going to give you some brackets. We call it the 4 quarters of life. So we're going to give you some more numbers, and we want you guys to be interactive. So we want you to comment, give us some thumbs, give us some hearts, give us some shares, and let's get it.
Absolutely. You see, if you're following heavy as it relates to We Are Royalty and adopting that royal mindset, it should only be one answer to where you will want to fall out of the lineup of the statistics out of 100 people. It should be you want to be that 1%er. The percentage of the individuals who's able to leave an inheritance for their kids, the person who is truly wealthy. So that was really like a trick question / test. So we should see 1% floating around in the comments, because that's the group you want to associate yourself with. We expect nothing but the best from you.
Exactly.
Because that's what we're all about. That's what We Are Royalty is all about. So like she said, we're going to give you some age ranges, the 4 quarters of life, and we want us to let you, or we want you to let us know, what quarter are you in? Where do you fall as it relates to this? And once we give you the quarters and you know where you are, now we need to figure out the game plan that can get you to being amongst that 1%. So let's go ahead and give them the quarters, the mindset that goes along with it, a couple of monetary numericals, and break it down for them so they can feel it.
So let's just go through the 4 quarters, okay? First quarter. So if you draw a line on your screen, a T, sort of like what we did when we went over the cash flow quadrants, all right? Same T in the middle, okay? On the left-hand side, you have your first 2 quarters of life, and then on the right-hand side, you have your last 2 quarters of life, okay? So on the first 2 quarters, at the top left, you have age 25 through 35. That is the age range of your first quarter, so you can write that in there. Bottom left, age 35 to 45. That's your second quarter. Third quarter, 45 to 55. So now we're at the top right. And then at the bottom right, age 55 through 65 is your 4th quarter. Go ahead.
First quarter. So let us know what quarter you fall in. Age 25 to 35 means you're in the first quarter. So if you're in that age range, put a 1 in the comments, or just say first quarter. I'm in the first quarter. Let us know where you are, and it'll all make sense later. Now, understand this: if you're not even 25 yet, then your quarter really hasn't even began. So it's a whole lot that you can be doing right now to be even in an even better position. But most people fall into their 25 to 35 age range, and their quarter has began as it relates to our audience. So put first quarter if you're part of that first quarter. Put second quarter if you fall into the age of 35 to 45. So 36 basically to 45. If you fall into that range, then put I'm in the second quarter. Let us know where you are. Third quarter, you need to be 36 to 45, and then fourth quarter 46 pretty much to 55. Or did I left out of age range? 25 to 35, 35 to 45, 45 to 55 is the third quarter.
Yep.
Then 55 to 65. So what quarter are you in? Now, as it relates to going through those quarters, those are the 4 quarters, and it's symbolic to a game, whether it's football or basketball. Let's talk basketball since that's the season that we're in, and a lot of people are focused on the playoffs or the finals or what have you. So there are 4 quarters typically in the game. Now, the question is, after the 4th quarter, what happens? What is after the 4th quarter? OT, right? And what does OT stand for as it relates to the quarters when you're talking about basketball? I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to put in the comments what OT represents. You got your first quarter, you got your second quarter, you got your third quarter, you got your 4th quarter, and then you have OT. So that's more than 5 seconds. OT typically stands for overtime. But as it relates to the financial game of life, the 4 quarters of life, OT stands for out of time. Meaning that you're literally in a position to where you're beyond the age 65 and it's almost like you're out of time. And even if you're not, you feel like it because a lot of life has passed and you didn't position yourself properly. So the question is, what can you do before OT? And OT stands for out of time. Now, just to kind of put some numbers with it, some monetary numbers with what you should be striving for during your first, second, and third and fourth quarter, this is how you should look at it. For each age range, you should be looking at it as if that age range represents $100,000 that you have invested, $100,000 working towards your future. And what I mean by that is it's 10 years in each quarter. So age 25 to 35, you want to get yourself in a position to by age 35, you have $100,000 working in your favor, $100,000 in assets that have the ability to appreciate. That's about $10,000 per year. So age 25, you need to get $10,000 working for you. 26, 20, all the way to 35, to the point where you have assets or portfolio that is unison with being about $100,000. If better, even better. If you can do more than that, do more. But bare minimum, that should give you a goal to shoot for. You see, a lot of times people don't hit their goals because they don't have one. We just gave you one. So in the first quarter, by age 35, strive for having a portfolio of at least $100,000. Second quarter, another $100,000 for that entire quarter, a whole another 10 years. If you keep it in perspective of $10,000 for each age year, each calendar year, that'll total up for another $100,000 added with the first quarter. Now by age 45, you should be striving to have at least $200,000 in assets and investments, money working for you in your favor, so that it has the ability to appreciate and support you when it's time for you to retire and reach the age 65. Third quarter, let's add another 100,000. So that's 300,000 working for you. Same scenario. Fourth quarter, add another 100,000. So a total of 400,000 bare minimum working for you by the age 65. Now you should strive for more, because if you just look at, since we spoke on Social Security earlier, if you just look at the fact that on the stats, they said that most people need over 1.2 million working for them by the age of their retirement, because they understand inflation. But we just want to give you a goal to shoot for. So 400,000 should be in assets, some type of investment, some type of savings that's still generating some form of an interest, some type of business that's producing some type of residual or passive or ongoing income. You need to have some things in place by the age 65. So each quarter represents 100,000. The question is, what quarter are you in? And if you're not in alignment with the monetary values that we gave you, the question is, what are you going to do about it? See, it's all about solutions. We gave you the scenario and a goal for you to strive for, but the question is, what are you going to do about it as it relates to those quarters? And I can just look at the queen and tell she's glowing with something that she want to drop on you as it relates to these quarters.
I think some people are scared, you guys. I think some people are scared, and that's not what we are here to do. So show us some love. All right, give us some thumbs, some hearts, or something floating across the screen. But this is what you have to understand. The best type of money for you to have is money that works for you. Not being in a position where you're working for your money. If you work hard for every dollar that you get and you're literally trading time for money, that's not necessarily the smartest thing for you to be doing. How else will you meet this minimum quota that we've put in each of your quarters? Okay, so please understand the importance of money working for you. And to be honest with you, that's the only way that you're really going to achieve true freedom and true financial freedom and wealth, is having money working for you, having assets that's going to produce income. Right? So that's the most important thing. I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there so that you understand, when we're giving you these numbers, the $100,000 through $400,000, we're not talking about you saving. Because think about how much money you will have to be saving every single month to hit those goals. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck already. Most people are barely making ends meet. You know, most people are so focused on the now that they can't focus on their future because of the lack of money, the lack of education. All right. So you have to understand the importance of putting something in place that's going to generate you additional cash flow. You need to understand the basics, how to free up some of your cash flow, how to cut back on some of the things that you may already be spending money on right now. So these are all factors. And, you know, we've been doing these videos for a while. We've been educating for a while to where you should know the basics. We're giving that information to you for free. You should know, you know, the importance of cutting back. It's bigger than budgeting. It's bigger than minimizing your expenses. You have to get to a point where things are working for you, where you have income producing assets, where you are partaking in income producing activities, right?
Nice.
Those are the most important things. You know, business ownership, we talk about that all the time. It's bigger than just the money. Sometimes you have to give less away. We talk about the importance of minimizing your taxes, being able to use that money to generate you some more cash flow to where you can invest in assets. You know, you can take advantage of the dividends and the capital gains and things of that nature. You guys, these are all facets that you should be looking into as it pertains to retiring, and retiring comfortably and not dead broke.
Especially if you want to be in that 1%. So it's beyond retiring comfortably. It's about leaving an inheritance. It's about thinking about the future generations. So you got to understand that first and foremost. And as it relates to the quarters and where you line up, this is what you got to understand. We're talking about money working for you. Because if you work for every dime that you earn, that's not good. You need some dimes that you don't work for. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is you need money making money, or you need systems in place that can produce and generate income, because you need what? Income for life. So this one is for the books. We're going to basically, we know people are going to see this futuristically. So I got to add this just so people can understand and not get discouraged. Because a lot of times when people see the quarters, they're like, okay, I'm in the first quarter, they feel a little safe. Okay, I'm in the second quarter, they feel a little safe, which is great because you have some time on your side. And time is mandatory as it relates to investing your money and allowing that money to grow. You need to give it time to grow. It has to go through the ups and downs of the market to even gain the momentum that's necessary to get you to the goal of having over $500,000 invested or working for you. So understand that time is major. So you still have a little time as it relates to your first quarter, your second quarter, even your third quarter. But when it comes to that fourth quarter, you're getting closer to that part where you're out of time. And what we mean by out of time, you're more so in a place to where you don't have the time that's necessary to allow your money to grow when or if invested. But that doesn't mean that you still can't land on your goal. What she said about business ownership, asset accumulation is second to none. Because a lot of times what we find is people are, you know, scared to get into business, scared to sell a product or offer a service or be some beacon of value to the marketplace. And for those of you who are terrified about getting into business, you're not doing it just for the sake of not going against your fear. You have to understand that it's mandatory, it's a must, it's necessary for you to tap into that arena if you want to land amongst the 1% or even the 4%. It's mandatory for you to do it. And what happens is a lot of times people feel as though, you know, I got some passions or some business endeavors I want to pursue, or I want to get with the Smiths and, you know, see what they're all about and build a business. But what happens is if they prolong, if they procrastinate, if they wait and say, I'm going to do it later, or wait until I retire, or wait until I get a little more time, the time never aligns in a sense of you being at the perfect place to make that happen. So what that means is you need to take actions like yesterday in order to be in a good position going forward. Because when people wait and procrastinate, they position themselves to lose their job. We talk to people all the time, and they no longer even have a job to go to, even though they worked there for 10 or 15 years. The job released them, and now they're ready to get into business. Now they're ready to get active. Now they're ready to start building assets when you should have been doing that simultaneous to you working your job, so that when or if the scenario happened and the rug was pulled from underneath you, you were already in position. You were already heading in a positive direction. I got a couple more things to add, but I think I might have sparked something in you as it relates to speaking on that.
Well, the main thing is, for one, I wanted to shout out Delilah because she said you can never get time back. And that's so true. You cannot get time back. So we don't want anyone to be discouraged looking at the different quarters, even if you are in your third quarter, because you can catch up, or at least put your best foot forward. Keep in mind, it's bigger than you. It's not just about you. If you are living and working and striving for success, but only for you, for yourself, for your current situation, and not thinking about the future generations, then I don't really know what to say nicely about that. You have to be thinking. You have to be thinking about those future generations, and even if you are in, the third or the fourth quarter, at least okay. And at that point, it's time for you to, get up off your asset and really invest in yourself. Get that knowledge. Okay, collect as much knowledge as you can. And now guess what you are doing for the next generation? You're equipping them with the knowledge to not be unprepared, to be prepared for every single quarter of life that they're going through. So see, I said this in a couple of the previous videos. Be mindful that investing in yourself is not just money. Okay.
Absolutely.
We don't want you to stray away from things that cost an investment, because guess what? If you knew it already, you would be there, or where you're trying to go already.
True.
Investing in yourself, it can be monetary, but for the most part, it's investing your time, freeing up time. If you're not where you want to be in life, yet you're still using the excuse of, I don't have time to learn something new. I don't have time to start a business. I don't have time. I'm so busy. How are you busy, but you aren't where you want to be financially? That makes no sense. So it seems like you should free up the time. You should make the time to better yourself, to invest in yourself, if you're serious about the future generations.
So the question becomes, it's not a matter of do you have enough time. We know that you had the same amount of time as everybody who's accomplished great things, and the same amount of time as those who have accomplished nothing. The question is, who are you giving your time to? Mm-hmm. Where's your time going? Who is robbing you of your time? And once you look at your time and allot it in a way that lets you know, okay, I'm spending too much time in these areas, you start freeing up that time, just like we teach people to free up their cash flow. And when we teach a person how to free up their cash flow, we want them to do good things with the cash flow, because that cash flow turns into more cash flow. Same goes for the time. You free up that time, and now you apply the time in a manner that you're putting your effort, your energy into things that put you on the forefront of becoming a part of the top 5% of Americans who don't have to depend on anybody or have a generational inheritance that they're able to leave, all because you got your time back and you applied it properly. So understand, time is the biggest factor. Yeah, we talked about the money. Yeah, we talked about certain things you want to have in place so that money is not an issue in the income for life. But if you don't get your time back and apply it properly and put the efforts and the energy that you currently have in action, even if it's uncertain action, even if it means taking a leap of faith, even if it means not knowing exactly what to do step by step, action must be taken. And if you fail, it's really not a fail. You got a result, and you just might need to tweak, but it's all worth it because you're living for the future generation. So use the time properly that you free up, and get with us, get with whoever else, and we can show you how to make that time well worth it, because 65 is just a number that we're using. But this can all be done well before 65 years. We can shave years off of your life. And if you get years off of your life, meaning that you're able to retire well before 65, then you just freed up yourself indefinitely, and that's ultimate freedom.
Most definitely. I mean, that's all I got, you guys. Look at your situation. Okay, and make a conscious decision to invest in yourself. You should not be dependent on a job alone. And if you are, I mean, just look at how far it's gotten you. It's very simple, you guys. Numbers do not lie. Keep that in mind. If you're ever worried, if you ever want to, be successful, if you have a goal that you want to hit, pull the numbers. Period. So just pull the numbers. So if you are, depending on a job, look at how much money you have in savings. Really do the math. Okay, I've been working for this many years. I only have this much in savings. Divided the years divided by the money that I have. I've only been saving this much a year. If I put that in an investment account, what can I get? How fast could that money grow? Pull the numbers. Look at what's in your 401k currently. If your job still offers a pension, look at what's currently in your pension. Do the numbers. Add it up. Where would I be at the age of 30? Where would I be at the age of 45, 65? So numbers don't lie. Pull them, and 9 times out of 10, you will see that you need something different. You need something else. You need to invest in yourself. You may need to go ahead and pursue that dream of starting that business, whether it's selling cookies and making purses or whatever the case may be. A lot of the times, most Americans, face that reality when it's a little bit too late that I needed to do something different. I thought my job was going to take care of me, but they're only thinking about themselves. So it's the harsh reality. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but you can change it all. It all starts with you. You are the problem and you are the solution.
I love it. The problem and the solution. That's taking some ownership. That's taking some responsibilities. And like you said, the numbers don't lie. Men lie, women lie, but the numbers don't lie. Not to say that we lie, but you got to understand you have to dissect what's going on, where people are falling as it relates to the age 65, and where do you currently fall. And the next step is doing something about it. Not pondering, not thinking, taking the necessary action, whether that's acquiring knowledge, connecting with like minds. And we're definitely in a position to where we can assist you and guiding you through steps that are helping countless other people all across the nation, just because they understood, okay, I have to do something different, because based on the statistics, I don't want to be one unless I'm amongst the top 5%. So that's what this is all about. By age 65, where will you be and what are you going to do about it this point forward? Share this with somebody who you know can benefit, and this would definitely be one for the books. You got anything else you want to add before we conclude and send them away in a royal way?
No, share, tag, you guys. We have to be prepared. We have to prepare, and it starts now. We need to be proactive opposed to reactive, okay? Don't wait until retirement age is here. Don't wait on a catastrophe to actually happen before you start, trying to better your financial situation.
Gotta love it. And this is the reason why. Because we live in a world where we are conditioned for failure. And oftentimes we are programmed or fooled into mediocrity. So people find themselves living like peasants instead of the royalty that they were meant to be. But you see here, we are royalty. We see the king in you. We see that queen in you from start to finish. It's just time for you to take your seat on the throne. Because this is where we uplift your character, your confidence, and your cash flow. You see, as royalty, you should establish a solid financial foundation that'll soon lead to your abundance and thriving empire. Take your seat on the throne. We are royalty. Salute.